Having a good internship experience is going to play a crucial role when you try to find a full-time role in Germany. And after receiving 500 roughly rejections, I decoded how can you find an internship in Germany. I myself was struggling to find an internship back in 2021 until I understood that these three mistakes what I have been doing in terms of my application was leading to the rejection. Hey guys, for those who don't know me, I'm Akshay. I came here back in 2021 to pursue my master's. I studied from the Hochschule University, and more importantly, I was able to secure my internship with one of the reputed company in Germany who was paying me 1700 euros every month, which is equivalent to 1,70,000 Indian rupees. In today's video, I'm going to decode everything what I learned from my experience, and I'm going to help you out to find your future internship. So the very first thing is, why do internship matter in Germany? When you have a good exposure internship in Germany, of course it is going to boost your chances in order to find a good full-time role in the company. And I was fortunate enough that I was so dedicated in my internship that I was able to get my full-time role with the same company, and that has led me to think and perform more in a better and efficient way throughout my career. So how did I find my very first internship? I was spontaneously applying for an internship, which was so wrong without even understanding that how I need to structure it, because I did not get the right set of guidance from my fellows, colleagues, and that was a lack of the information. But what I changed back then is I started attending the seminars. I started getting connected with my friends and colleagues in order to identify how they were able to secure their internship. With throughout my all the research, I rectified these 3 points which we are going to walk, or let's say go together in order to find you the internship in Germany. The very first thing is we need to understand what is internship. So internship is something that is going to give you the career related exposure as an intern in Germany. There are two types of internship. The very first is Pflichtpraktikum, which is known as a mandatory internship. The second is Freiwillig Praktikum. It is like a voluntary internship. The key difference is, whenever you are doing some course, if it is a part of your curriculum, then it is fall under the category of Pflichtpraktikum. On the other hand, if you want to have some industry exposure, then it is not a part of your curriculum, then it is going to be the voluntary internship. Why we need to understand this? Because in Germany there is a law that as a student you can allow to work only 120 days in a full or 240 days in a half. So if you have this as a part of your curriculum, then you hit the jackpot. Of course, you are able to extend your internship for another semester as well. So I myself extended my internship by another 2 months, and on the 8th month I was able to secure my full-time offer in Germany. On the other hand, if you are someone who does not have this as a part of their curriculum, then of course you need to make sure that you are fulfilling the criteria of 120 days full or 240 days and a half, and not exceeding it. Because if you extend it, then it is going to create a huge problem in longer run. As a non-EU student, if it is a part of your curriculum, you will be doing the mandatory internship. If not as a part of your curriculum, you will be doing as a voluntary internship. Now we know what are the internship types are. Very importantly, why do we get rejections in Germany? I myself have applied over 450 companies, the big companies, and I got a rejection from them. And it was really hurting back then, because as a student, I was so motivated that I wanted to establish my life in Germany, and having those rejections were not the best thing. Until I expanded my knowledge and understood where the things are not going in a good way and what should I do in order to make the things much better. Very first, I got the feedback from my fellows, my teachers, my colleagues, alumni, that I need to really rework on my CV. My CV is going to reflect my image in front of HR. They have advised me to keep a CV for 1 to 2 page at max. When I'm writing my CV, I should be using German even though I am not proficient in German, because it indicates to the HR that I am willing to put my 100% in terms of learning their language, in terms of learning their culture, getting adopted. So it is already a one step ahead those who are applying in English. Second thing is, when I'm writing my CV, I should keep it seriously simple, not so fancy font, not so fancy color, because we want to justify our achievement in terms of the field which we are going to apply, not something by putting some fancy fonts, so which I really don't care about that part. More important thing is highlighting my achievement in the star format. Those who don't know how to structure your CV, the link is popping at the top. Maybe this video can help you out. I have also explained this in 3-step guide, which is going to help you in the long run. Anyways, so now you know how to write your CV. The second thing what I understood is I was not paying attention to my cover letter. I personally was not modifying my cover letter back then, which was resulting like if I get an interview call, I have been called on site and I am going there instead of formals in my pajamas. So of course, whenever you are applying for an internship, make sure that you are mandatorily fulfilling this criteria, that attaching your cover letter. Why it is important? Because when you write a cover letter, it is going to give HR and broader perspective why you are the right candidate, what were your accomplishments, and you really need to replicate not your resume but your projects, what you have done during your tenure as an experience, what was the key takeaway from the projects, and how you're going to help the company. Of course, the very important thing is do not start with I am interested in this position because I have seen this on a Stepstone, LinkedIn. Bullshit it is, because HR really have seen this type of context over the thousands and years in their tenure. They really want to see something different, and if you really are not sure how can you write your cover letter in a better and efficient way, you can watch this video. This is going to give you the more clarity how you can structure your cover letter. Anyways, now we know that what we need to write, what we need to put in together. More importantly, I was also not sure that whether I should attach my documents until that point that HR from the Eon company where I applied for and supply chain analyst role had contacted me back asking for the further documentation, and that's when I realized that I also need to attach my documentation such as my transcript whenever I apply for an internship, and if possible apply or upload your residence permit also, so that they will also have a clear understanding whether you're allowed to work with the company or not, because at some point residence permit plays a crucial role. You might need to check your residence permit how much you're allowed to work in Germany. Anyways, now we know how we need to structure it. More importantly, how can we find an internship in Germany? I was so back then not sure how we can find an internship. I was only searching on a LinkedIn, Stepstone, Google in order to find my internship, but I missed out on the very important thing, which is how I need to structure this. So what I did back then was I was trying to search everything with the English keyword, which was not giving me the better result. On the other hand, I came to know from my fellow friends that I also need to use a German keywords in order to find an internship. So what I changed in my process was I started searching in this format. I'm sure you can simply try it by yourself, that you can note down the count of the results what you see with your regular search, and when you apply with practicum, the role I applied for was a supply chain and the city where I wanted to work. Trust me, with this I got a twice result of the amount what I was getting with the English research. So the keywords are also playing important role. There was also few websites which I did not know back then, like meinepracticum.de, meinepracticum.de, practicum.info. These are the websites help me out in order to find the internship which was not available or posted on a LinkedIn or Stepstone.com. Of course, what you can do is, when you know, you can see a lot of results, but we are not superhumans, right? We cannot remember everything, and it was the same case for me. Then I came up with the structure format, that how can I make sure that everything is documented, that I'm not missing out on any part. So what I did back then is I created a simple layman terms. I use a pen and paper in order to write the name of the company, the role, and of course my status with that application. Why did I do it? Because I wanted to make sure that now going forward I focus on my quality, not the quantity, and that has resulted me having a good amount of responses from my applications and was able to secure an internship in Germany. Of course, so what I would recommend is, what I did back then is I started with a pen and paper, but you are a bit advanced, you can of course start with an Excel. You simply need to do that. Whenever you see 100 result with this search, you simply need to put the list of the companies, the role inside the Excel, so that you can monitor yourself. When you do it, you should not be applying for this 100 companies on a single go the way I did back then, because if you try to apply for 100 companies in a single day, it is definitely going to burn you out, and making sure that the quality of the application will not be up to the mark. By default, you will be having a rejection. Change this habit by applying only for 10 companies or 15 companies per day. Keep the 95-85 for the buffer. If you don't find a good response with the first batch of the application, change something on a day 2, change something on a day 3. Likewise, every day you will be improving on some other thing, and by towards the end of this protocol, you will be 100% efficient and perfect with your application system and super tailored writing into your CV or cover letter. When you do this, when everything combines together, like I said, my 3-step guide, you will be able to see the tremendous amount of good responses. And more importantly, what happened to me back then is I applied for an English speaking role. Even though I applied for an English speaking role, in my last round of the interview, HR and manager asked me about my German proficiency, because the company is here in Germany. In going forward in the longer run, of course, I need to be focusing on my German, not only to do the job or internship in Germany, also in order to have a good knowledge exchange and immerse myself into the German culture, in order to make sure that I am socially also active on that part. So that is the reason they wanted to make sure that I also continue learning my German. And perhaps after everything, my company was so good enough that they have also provided me a German course in order so that I can continue my further German journey. Well, I guess that is sufficient. And if you really want to invest in Germany, you can use my this 3-step guide in order to find a good stocks in Germany and secure your future in a longer run. Until then, stay healthy, stay wealthy. Auf Wiedersehen.